Hi everybody, it's Rebecca, Virginia, and today I have 5 winter DIYs to share with you. First up is this adorable snowman candle. Here's what you'll need to complete the DIY. First, you're going to remove the backing from the candle. Then I cut a small strip of this blue felt to wrap around the candle to use as a scarf. Now I'm adding the eyes to my snowman candle using the eraser part of a pencil. I found this was a lot easier to use than a paintbrush, and then I took a Q-tip to elongate the black eyes. I did a similar method to do the carrot nose using orange paint and a Q-tip to also elongate it. For my snowman smile, I took the back end of a pen because it made a smaller dot than the eraser pencil did, and I did this all around to create a happy smile for my snowman. To add some texture to the scarf, I took a pair of scissors to add some frayed ends. I embellished my snowman further with a sprig of pine and a little cluster of berries. Lastly, I added this little glitter snowflake because I felt like he needed a little bit of sparkle on him. I thought I was done, but I wanted to add a little bit more definition to his eyes, so I took the back end of a paintbrush and added some white, and I really feel like it made him look more alive and a lot happier. The second DIY is my favorite in the collection. It's this Warm Wishes shadow box. Here's what you'll need to make your own. I started off by painting these mittens from the wooden ornament section of the Dollar Tree. I added together some black paint with some light blue and made this dark navy color. Then I took white paint and painted the tops of the mittens. I also added some white paint around the edges to look like it was snow. I wanted my mittens to look like they had fur cuffs, so I put down some glue and then tore apart some cotton balls to resemble the fur. Then it was time to add my snowflake background to the shadow box. I took apart the shadow box and laid it down onto the scrapbooking paper and traced it out. Then I cut it and Mod Podged it down. I'm using an old gift card to smooth out any air bubbles that may have been created from the Mod Podge. Next, I'm taking these tiny little clothespins that I found in the Crafter Square section and pinning them onto the mittens. I pinned the clothespins and the mittens onto some jute cord. I wanted it to look like a clothesline and the mittens were hanging out to dry. To further make this a snowy scene, I added a little bit of fake snow to the bottom of the shadow box. Then I placed the cover over just to make sure that it still fit with everything inside. I didn't have any white letters, so I just took some white paint and painted over the black letters I did have. Then I spelled out Warm Wishes and added a sparkly snowflake to the center. And that's everything you need to complete the Warm Wishes shadow box. The next DIY is hanging stocking garland. Here's everything you'll need to complete the project. Just like how I did the mittens in the previous DIY, I'm starting off by painting the tops of the stockings white so that they look like a fur cuff. I painted the rest of the stockings a navy color, and then I outlined the stockings in white so that it looked like snow. I covered the cuffs of the stockings in glue and then tore apart some cotton balls and added those on top so that it looked like fur. For this DIY, I'm painting half of the stockings and covering the other half of the stockings in scrapbooking paper. I traced out the stockings on the scrapbooking paper, cut them out, and Mod Podged them down onto the wood ornaments. Then I covered the outsides of them with white paint to also resemble snow. Instead of making fur cuffs on these stockings, I just painted them white and added a jute bow. Just like the mitten DIY, I hung up the stockings on some jute with these little baby clothespins. I wanted to add some more sparkle to my stocking garland, so in between each stocking ornament, I hung these snowflake ornaments. I tied them to jute and then I hot glued them down in place so they wouldn't move around. This stocking garland is perfect to hang off a fireplace mantle, and I love how the blue pops against the wood. This Snowball Bucket DIY is fast and easy. Here are the supplies you need for the DIY. I started off by wrapping this white tin bucket in jute. I wrapped it around about 4 or 5 times. These white tin buckets can be found in the wedding section at the Dollar Tree. I made a bow out of jute and hot glued it to the front of the tin bucket. I found these chalkboard tag signs in the Crafter's Square section at the Dollar Tree, so I hot glued a small wooden dowel to the back so that I could place the wooden dowel inside the tin bucket. Next, I placed some pieces of floral foam into the tin bucket so that the chalkboard sign had something to stick into. I started off writing on my sign with a paint pen, but I found that the paint pen kept bleeding and was taking up too much space, so I ended up just taking a really small paintbrush and some white paint and then writing Snowballs 5 cents. The last thing I did for this DIY was take some white pom-poms and just fill up my tin bucket so it looked like an overflowing bucket of snowballs. The last DIY in this winter collection is a freestanding snowflake. Here's what you'll need for the project. I started off by taking a wood dowel and painting it white so that it would match my ornament. Next up, I mixed up some paint to create a navy color and covered it all over this wood block. Next, I took some white paint to go over the edges and made some lines across it to look like faux wood. Once the wood dowel I painted earlier was dry, I hot glued it to the ornament. I tried just hot gluing the dowel to the wood block, but it wouldn't stay, so I did drill a small hole and inserted the dowel inside. As you can see, I had to use a lot of hot glue to make sure that it stood up straight, so I took a snowflake ornament to cover up the glue. Thanks for watching my winter DIY video. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.